Hi, Tom Trento, the director of the United West, with an exciting new series entitled Warriors for the West. Here's where we take a look at renowned experts in the military and intelligence and law enforcement who have been on the ground fighting the global jihad movement. And these individuals have committed their lives to fighting Islamic Jihad and the doctrines of Islamic Jihad, arguing for the worldview of Western civilization. And with us today on our first show is a distinguished retired general from the Israeli Defense Forces, General Aaron Zevi Farkash. In his prestigious career, General Farkash has led the Directorate of Military Intelligence, and he's been the head of the prestigious, yet very clandestine, Intelligence Unit 8200. Unit 8200 is very similar to the United States NSA, National Security Agency. So now, with us on our first show, a very unique insight into Israel, into the United States, into the Iranian issue, and into the Islamic State is General Zevi Farkash.
Tom Trento. I'm a Christian Zionist, okay? I'm one of the authors of Sharia, The Threat to America. There's 19 authors that include Jim Woolsey, the former head of CIA, admirals and lawyers, and pretty distinguished. The website is shariathethreat.org, Sharia with an H, shariathethreat.org. We put that book out. We're now writing a second one. We're called Team B2. We're writing a second book on the what the doctrine of the United States. We're a private entity. We're not involved with the government. We're writing a second book on what the doctrine ought to be over the next 2 years and for the next election in combating at every level. Military, intelligence, information war, combating this Islamic threat that's worldwide. My area of specialty is the information war, the propaganda war, basically. And I put out a lot of material, whether it's video or radio or TV or whatever, directly fighting that enemy and defending the United States and Israel, and arguing that Israel's America's #1 national security partner. Pretty simple. That's it. Any questions?
No, but you two or three that your statements I am not completely agree with.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
For example, that Israel is the threat of the Islamic, is the target of the Islamic State. Maybe two facts, in my point of view, that are based on my knowledge, on intelligence information, and also on information that is coming not only from the Israel sources, also from US sources, UK sources, Germany, and maybe even Russia. So, number one, with something that is very relevant, Israel never was the #1 target of the Iranian nuclear military bomb. Wasn't #1. Unfortunately, our policy is leading us sometimes to being in the focus. But Iran is not a nation that developed nuclear military capacities against Israel. We are too small as a challenge for the Iranian strategy, for their own needs. So going back far to the 70s, 80s, the cooperation with Iran to build the nuclear capacity it wasn't against Israel. I believe today it's not against Israel. For Iran, it's crucial to have nuclear military capacity to influence as a strategic superpower in Middle East, in South Asia. It's not only Middle East and South Asia also, of course, in the what they call Persian Gulf. And unfortunately, the last years, we are leading this flag, and we are on the top of the hill. And because of that, the focus is against Israel, and it's easy to build a coalition against Israel. It's easy to isolate Israel. So it's something that I completely don't agree. U.S. in 5+1, they don't have to act against the Iranian nuclear military plan to protect Israel. It's not the reason. It's to protect himself. Could you imagine 3 steps on the surface-to-surface missiles, ballistic missiles? First one is the Shihab 3 improved. The range will be around 2,000, 2,500. We are in the range, so there is no need to develop others, missiles, ballistic missiles. But they are on the way to launch the second step for missiles till 5,000 kilometers. Only Portugal is out of this range in Europe. Why they build this second step? In the third step, it's 10,000 kilometers to reach the east coast in the United States of America.
10,000 kilometers?
10,000 kilometers, 3 years. So everyone must ask these questions. So this is number one. Number two, ISIS or IS, because today their pretension is Da in Arabic, Dawlat Islamiyah, not fil Iraq in Shah. First of all, I want to tell you a story. This is a real clash in the worldwide Islamic Jihad between internal jihad and external jihad, or global jihad. Bin Laden, after September 11, understood that maybe external jihad is not the way to create the Islamic empire, the Islamic Caliphate, because this brought all the world against them. Even though I believe, if I remember the numbers, the right numbers, $500,000 was the investment being done by Al-Qaeda for September 11. And they caused, I believe, $5 billion direct damage. So after September 11, and after the campaign in Iraq, March 2003, Al-Qaeda understood that they made strategic mistakes. And it was a debate between Ayman al-Zawahiri and Bin Laden. I don't know if you are familiar with the development, the historical development, the creation of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is organization. The creation was in Afghanistan, fighting the Soviets. And this was for them the beginning of external jihad, fighting the Western style of life, creating the image of jihad, in creating the image of suicide bombers. It was like a reaction to the Ta'awash, it's called this, for the revival in Shia that began in 1779 by Khomeini revolution. It's a really fight between the Shia and the Sunni. So the real name of Al-Qaeda is Qaidat al-Jihad. It's a combination between Jihad al-Masri, being led by Ayman al-Zawahiri, and between Al-Qaeda. But shortly, still is Al-Qaeda. But the philosophy of Ayman al-Zawahiri was an internal jihad. What does it mean? And I completely don't agree someone that says Daesh and Hamas and Hezbollah, all of them are the same. It's not understanding what is going. So Ayman al-Zawahiri began the revolution by fighting against Sadat, and now Al-Qaeda, also Jabhat al-Nusra, is fighting against Bashar Assad to ensure that the Sharia will be the law in Egypt. They are interested in Egypt. They are interested in Syria, to make the revolution in Syria, and in nothing between Jabhat al-Nusra and the external jihad. They do not spend 1 cent for external jihad. They are trying to hire volunteers all over the world for their fight in Syria. And Qardawi, I don't know if you are familiar with the name, Sheikh Qardawi is a very well-known so-called imam, rabbi, with a lot of fatwa, and they are against the external jihad, being led today by ISIS, by saying, so if I want to go back to 2005, finally Ayman al-Zawahiri convinced bin Laden that they have to go back to the internal jihad. It's a bit different, because they are calling the internal jihad to create an Islamic state ruled by the Sharia, without borders, of course, in Iraq at the beginning, after that in Syria, after that in Lebanon, in Jordan, etc., etc., in the heart of the Levant. And we got a letter. After that was published, I want to tell you all the story.
Who's we?
From the Israel intelligence. I was then the director of military intelligence.
What year is this?
July 2005.
Okay.
And today you can find this letter of Ayman al-Zawahiri. I will tell you why. Ayman al-Zawahiri sent a letter to Abu Musab Zarqawi. And he offered him to be the first Amir of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. And he is ready to pay him $100,000, and he will be the first Amir as the beginning of the long-term internal jihad, finally to create in the Levant, in the Middle East, not against the territory of United States of America or UK or other places, to create the beginning of the Islamic Jihad. I understood this is of crucial importance for United States of America. Why? What was the philosophy of President Bush, if I understood his philosophy? His philosophy was, I cannot allow the Islamic Jihad, Al-Qaeda, to fight against US territory. Then I have to move and to attack Afghanistan and Iraq, and maybe even Iran. It was a debate about Iran. I thought Iran must be number one and not Iraq and Afghanistan. And then we will force the worldwide jihad, Al-Qaeda, to fight against the coalition in the Middle East, and not to be focused in UK and in USA and other places. If you want, it's something similar that a few of the Israelis are saying being in Judea, Samaria, in the Gaza Strip, it will focus terror against these places and less in Hadera, Haifa, Netanya, and Tel Aviv. So we get this information, and I was...
How did you get it? How did you get it?
You're not
On camera, on camera. It's a bit difficult to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just testing, just testing.
that's your job. And I was very afraid that someone, what it's called, will burn this source. זה מושג שהוא גם באנגלית, לשרוף מקום.
to burn a source.
To burn a source,
To
yeah,
burn
yeah,
a source,
yeah.
the same thing, yeah.
So I asked to prepare a short video, 6 minutes, and I asked one of the brigadier generals in the intelligence community to meet number 3 in the NSA. Half an hour after number 3 in the NSA, I don't want to use names, show this video. He asked the head of NSA to see the video. To short the story, 48 hours after that, President Bush showed this video. And 48 hours after that, it was published in New York Times.
The video?
No.
Oh, the story.
Right. The story. And of course, this burned my
Oh
soul.
boy, oh
Yes.
boy.
But it was crucial for President Bush to say it was the right strategy to attack Iraq, because now they are focused in Iraq and not in New York and Boston and other places.
You see how things work?
Yeah,
Amazing,
yeah.
amazing.
Of course, Prime Minister Sharon told me, Farkash, the damage is unbelievable, etc. And I told him, do you know, Prime Minister Sharon, we are doing also sometimes when we need politically to use information. So you even ask me, I ask you not to use this and this information, and do you know that after that I was in a bad situation on the hill, asking me why I use American sources. So sometimes we have to understand
Yeah. It's a strange world.
yeah. So going back to ISIS, this is the beginning of ISIS.
2005.
What
Al-Zakari.
happened? Yeah. What happened? He was, as you know, he was killed by, איך אומרים סיכול ממוקד באנגלית?
Focused assassination.
Yeah, we bombed his house in 2006.
By 2006
Yeah.
by US forces, and of course the root of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is coming from this organization.
He was wounded yesterday.
Yes, I know.
He was wounded yesterday.
Yeah. What happened in June 2014? That the information that we get, it's information that says 3 steps for the Islamic revolution in the world.
Wait, we jumped to, from 2006, Al-Zakari gets killed to
Yes,
2000.
and he continued. I don't remember the name of who came after
him,
Abu Musab Darqawi. In any case, number 3 was Abu Bakr Baghdadi.
Okay.
I want to say what happened with Abu Bakr Baghdadi, because what he...
Oh, when he announced, okay,
Yes, his announcement
Okay.
in June this year, it was dramatically by saying, I don't believe in internal jihad. I believe in external jihad. So because of that, today, Abu Musab Zarqawi, Ayman al-Zawahiri, is against this philosophy that he believes is the wrong philosophy and will cause very strong damage for the worldwide jihad.
So they fight each other.
Absolutely, there are against Al-Qaeda. The source Al-Qaeda is saying we have to finish the revolution in the Middle East.
Strategically, this is a strategic argument.
Strategic argument.
Yeah.
And because of that, you can see a lot of Al-Qaeda leaders saying, we are with Jabhat al-Nusra. We are strengthen the revolution, the internal jihad, to change to change the regimes in the Middle East, to bring them to be upon the Sharia. Once this will happen in the Middle East, this revolution then will
they have to
go
unite
other
the
places.
Ummah.
So this is a huge difference. In this suddenly, why Al-Qaeda didn't decided to achieve this revolution and to create the Islamic State on the worldwide is because they understood that this way, Abu Bakr's way, will איך אומרים, יקומם את כל העולם המוסלמי הסוני.
will how do you say command? Will take the Sunni world and
against them.
Yeah.
And you can see what happened with Saudi Arabia. Suddenly, Saudi Arabia is the leader in the Arab world by saying ISIS is a real threat. Before President Obama began this to do, they asked all the ambassadors to say this is the real threat. Why? Because the philosophy of ISIS is saying you, the traditional Orthodox keeper of the holy cities for the Islam, Mecca and Medina, you are wrong. I am Abu Bakr. Do you know Abu Bakr is the first Caliph after Muhammad?
Really?
And he chose this name Abu Bakr on purpose by saying, I am after Muhammad.
I'm the successor.
I am the successor. No Saudi Arabia. And of course not Ali, that he is a Shia.
Wow.
So this is something
It's big,
that
yeah.
challenge the Shia in the traditional Sunnah. And they are afraid because of that, because their sex appeal is unbelievable. And this is a real threat, even though finally Abu bin Laden was killed and he will be killed, etc. There is something with the image for the youth in the Arab Islamic State about their message. And we have to deal, what I can say, what is the success? Once the fire, this holy fire of the jihad, was began to show the light for the youth in the Arab Muslim world, I believe this is the success. Always there is someone else that will take this
Flame.
and say we have to continue. And it was Bin Laden. After that is is in Iraq Abu Musab Zarqawi and Ayman al-Zawahiri, and now Abu Bakr. Someone else will be there. But what happened with Abu Bakr? He took all the symbols of Muhammad and say, I am, because this clash, this fight today between the Sunnah and the Shia is coming because the Shiites are saying Ali is the last prophet.
So why are they killing Americans, British, that they took?
Because their philosophy is the external jihad first.
So Israel is also a target
Yes,
now.
but if, please watch his speech in June or July 2014. No, nothing was said about Israel.
Maybe on purpose. Just
No, they are not so sophisticated. They mention the Jew and they mention Jerusalem. But we are the small Satan.
Yeah,
We are Satan.
The-
So I believe you have to read Abu Qutb in all the philosopher that created the Muslim Brotherhood in Al-Qaeda, and to understand we are not a target. We are not a target. Of course, finally, Israel, they will be against Israel. But today, yes, why? Because it's easy. But for them, it's not a challenge. Islam, first of all, says their challenge is the Christians. Why? Because what it's important, who the last will keep the flag in Mecca, in Medina, in Karbala, in Najaf, in Qom, and in Jerusalem.
So who are they threatening now? The ISIS.
ISIS,
Yes.
ISIS. First of all, ISIS today are threatened. They want to create in Iraq, in Syria, and after that in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Saudi Arabia, what they call the internal jihad. to create the Islamic State.
Are they a real threat or just a propaganda?
I believe if it will be a strong coalition that will decide all the time to collect information about the members of Al-Qaeda, the leaders of ISIS, and as they are doing today, and attack them all the time, I believe finally it will be very difficult for them to sustain, to survive. If you see, they didn't attack even Baghdad. They understood they don't have the power. Once they will go to try to occupy territory, they will lose. They are strong when they are spread in the desert in a lot of places, but I believe the real threat is the image.
But you said if the coalition is, so what you mean that the coalition now is not effective?
It's not enough effective. I believe finally boots on the ground are crucial. But you see finally that the president today,
1,500 soldiers.
Absolutely. In the beginning he mentioned only 1 month ago.
Yeah.
First of all, it was 1.5 months ago. He said no strategy. We don't have strategy. We have to see how to deal with. After that, the strategy was to build a coalition with Egypt, with Turkey, with others, with the European, and build a special force, not with American on the ground. And it's impossible.
But he said that these are only consultants, experts. They will not fight.
Yeah.
But it's like Vietnam.
Okay. I believe this is the beginning.
This is the beginning.
I believe.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
The Islamic State, Baghdadi, Caliph Ibrahim, he's being called now. That's his name that he wants to be called.
Abu Bakr al-Ibrahimi.
Yep.
Yeah. The family name is al-Ibrahimi. Why there is one God? So his image is very strong by saying monotheism is Abraham.
And he holds a PhD in Islamic law, so he's a brilliant guy. He's a smart
Absolutely.
guy, yeah.
Ibrahim is the father of the monotheism. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Ishmael is his son.
So that's the connection.
We related to him. But finally, I am a Muslim. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and not only the Muslim, after Muhammad in 632, Abu Bakr, was the first Caliph. My name is Abu Bakr. I am there, not Ali.
That's big. That's very big. They just came out now. They're getting very sophisticated.
And I didn't see enough places that the people really understand, and also the way to react in Muhammad times was by Farkash. This was the way how they killed Ali.
Yes.
So this is also not. So he is using all the terms that are coming. Even I don't know if you saw this video of his speech being given in June. Did you see it? אני אגיד לך את זה בעברית. הוא ניקה את שיניו כמו מוחדם, עם עלה של זית. הוא אומר לנקות את השיניים.
He cleaned his teeth with a olive leaf.
Did you see this?
Yeah.
This was the way upon the hadith. You know what it's hadith?
Sure, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This was the story about how Muhammad cleaned his teeth.
Yep. No, he
הוא עושה את זה בטלוויזיה.
On purpose.
and this is what's stirring up. I'm calling it the Islamic State syndrome. This is what's stirring up the Muslim youth around the world. They're all seeing the image of Muhammad in Abu Bakr, and they're going. They just came out, and they're starting to provide state services. They're providing schooling and medical care. They're functioning as a state. They just came out with 4 magazines, Dabiq, right? Going back to but they're rooting the magazine Dabiq in the eschatology, Islamic eschatology of the end times. When there's the great battle.
The Gogol Magog.
Yeah. So and Abu Bakr has said in his writings that he is the fulfillment of Islamic prophecy. So this is going way beyond geopolitics.
Rasul Allah.
Yeah.
He is the shaliach, the messenger of God. And because of that, what he is saying, these are the holy
words of God.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you, as the former intelligence leader of
Yeah.
the nation of Israel,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
How
It's a
important
responsibility.
is it for other intelligence leaders of other Western nations to understand what we're talking about? Because I don't think they understand the
don't
philosophical and theological elements.
Absolutely. I have to tell you that, unfortunately, at the beginning I understood. I fortunately lived the exodus of the the Soviets from Egypt in 1972. 20,000 Soviets groups were kicked out by Sadat from Egypt. So to be a Sovietolog on the Hill in Washington D.C., it was to be in. But today, no, it's important to understand the processes in Russia, in Ukraine. I believe it's very important. This is a huge nation. But finally, what it's important to understand that in the world there are 1.5 billion Muslims. Jama'ah Islamiyah in the Far East began to use terminology being used by ISIS. So I believe this is something crucial that must be understood. I can give you, without names, one of the closest assistants of President Bush when he was nominated as being responsible of the policy in Iran, in Syria, and Lebanon. He spent 6 hours in my office, and the only one thing that he wanted to be a student and to understand what happened. So I believe this is crucial, to understand first of all what is going in the Arab world today. It's crucial, why? Because of Europe also. So in my opinion is that today, first of all, it's very important to understand what happened. Number two, to understand that Israel is not the target. Israel makes political mistakes, forcing a lot of people in the world, the Western countries, especially in Europe and US, saying we are the target. By trying to amplify the power of ISIS. Nothing ISIS today can do to Israel. It's crucial to stop ISIS.
But if they take over Jordan and they will be on the Israeli border,
they cannot take over Jordan.
Why?
Because Jordan is a very strong army. They understand that to fight against 4 Jordanian divisions that are well trained for internal security, the change being made by King Hussein is to take 2 armored divisions into infantry divisions, and to say the target is not fighting Israel or fighting Saudi Arabia or Iraq. The fighting is the stability of the regime in Jordan. Why? We are only 30% Badu. All the others are Palestinians. And there is a strong Hamas organization in Jordan. So he understood this. And education is important, and employment is important, and etc. And I believe the king is doing the right thing to understand the real threat.
Does Israel help Jordan to protect itself?
Absolutely. I believe this is well known. But finally, what I'm telling to do, I don't know if they are 10,000 or 20,000. They understood it's forbidden for them. It will be the biggest strategic mistake to occupy territories and to say this is the territory. No borders in ISIS philosophy. No borders. No borders in your mind. No borders physically. The philosophy is that Islam will be a worldwide Sharia nation.
Hi, Tom Trento, your host of Warriors for the West. You're listening on WSBR 740 AM out of Boca Raton, Florida, and WHFS 1010 out of Tampa Bay, Florida.
Prime Minister Sharon was against defense. It's well known. He believed this finally will define the border between the Palestinian Authority and Israel. It's a political instrument. And we convinced him, Avi Dichter and myself, that if we want to stop the suicide bomber, we must have this fence. Because between Baqa el-Sharqiyya and Baqa el-Gharbiyya, do you know where they are?
Roughly.
Yeah, it's are in the triangle of that today. There are problems there the last week.
Farkana, where
Yeah,
the
Farkana
guy was
okay,
killed. Yes.
So Baqa el-Sharqiyya was before 1967 was on the Jordanian side. It's one big village, Baqa. Sharqiyya is east, and Gharbiyya is west. Baqa el-Sharqiyya was in Jordan.
Okay.
Baqa el-Gharbiyya was here.
Okay.
15 minutes to move from Baqa el-Sharqiyya and Baqa el-Gharbiyya
Trouble.
and to carry out terror activity in Afula, in Hadera, and other places. By defense,
Stop.
suddenly it will take them 8 hours, 10 hours. This is for intelligence, technology, and capacity in special forces. You can do it. So it was a combination of things that forced us finally to save this huge challenge. And 66 suicide bombers activities happened in 2002 in Israel. They killed 55% of the people that were killed by terror in 2002. If I remember, I believe 240 were killed, 440 and 220, 230 or 40 were killed by suicide bomber. 66 terror attacks. In 2005, we reduced these attacks to 4 and 15 people were killed.
Because of defense.
Because the technology, because of defense, because of the aquarium of intelligence, being used with a lot of classical also. It was
The focus assassination.
Yeah.
How much time do we have? Because I have some questions.
I believe at 11 we have to.
Okay, so go ahead.
No, you ask your question and then I'll...
We saw some terrorist activity in the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt, and now the Egyptians are. Do you think that ISIS is there, active?
We know that ISIS is coming from the Salafi philosophy of life. Salafi philosophy of life believes in Muhammad's original belief in his Sahaba. You know what is Sahaba? His friends, 6 friends that were a part of the Shura, of the close friends that he all the time advised.
His counsel,
Yeah, it was a special council
Right.
of the 6. Abu Bakr was number 1 after that.
Which is Abu Bakr Ibrahim. Yeah.
And Omar ibn al-Khattab was number 2.
Okay.
So all this, and Omar Misgad, the mosque, Omar Mosque is
of
on
course,
his own name.
Yeah.
So,
The question was about the Sinai Peninsula.
Okay, so in Sinai Peninsula, there is the influence of a few organizations. They believe in Al-Qaeda. Why? Because Al-Qaeda support, for example, there is Beit al-Muqaddas, one of the organizations in Sinai. What they want to do is to bring the Sharia law to Egypt. And Egypt will be a state that the Sharia law...
To bring back the Islamic Brotherhood?
The Islamic Brotherhood. Yeah, and because of that, there is support being given by Al-Qaeda to these organizations. Why? Because they believe in this by Ayman al-Zawahiri, not by ISIS.
Okay.
Not by, I don't know about ISIS, but Ayman al-Zawahiri. Why? Because to change regimes in Egypt, or in Syria, or in Yemen. In Yemen, it's terrible what happened now.
But we don't see any news about it.
Yeah, because they are going to destroy Yemen.
Really?
No one deals with
Yemen's
Yemen.
gone. Yeah, Yemen's gone.
Okay, go ahead with it.
Where is al-Zawahiri now? Where is he?
I don't know exactly, but I believe it's between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Going back and forth.
Yeah.
One thing for our next conversation, I don't know if you've been reading Dabiq. They have 4 issues.
Yeah.
They put out their book. They're very good with social media, the Islamic State.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they write their philosophy, their eschatology, their theology. And they say internal jihad first, because you can't mobilize the ummah unless you purify the ummah. So they got to purify it and kill the Shia. That's part of it. They got to kill the Shia. And once they get that, then they start the external jihad. Then Israel comes into the targeting. So Israel's there. They're working their way. But what's happening? There's this excitement and fervor.
Sorry to say you.
Go ahead.
They cannot say Israel is not a part of it.
Right. Of
if
course.
you are going back to Abu Qutb, to Hassan al-Banna,
Right.
to all the philosophers,
Right.
you will understand that we are not a target. That's it. So I'm sorry to say that even our leaders are happy to be a part of this party. Yeah, we are also a part of ISIS, etc. We have enough enemies. We don't need to create new.
But the US is a target.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
US is a target.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
US
yeah.
is a big target for them.
But one thing we're seeing is the spin-off of the independent jihadis,
Yeah.
lone wolves, all of that. The automobiles now are being used. In Dabiq, in the magazine,
Yeah.
they talk about taking the belief of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and taking your vehicle and running people down. They're writing about this.
Really?
And now it's happening right here, and you're responding to it. obviously.
Dabiq is Dabik.
Q. It's the city in northern Syria where the end time battle is going to take place, and the Muslims will defeat the Jews and the Christians. So that's their magazine.
Yeah.
There's 4. I'll email you the 4 editions. You must read them. They're amazing. All right, a couple of questions. You ready?
Okay.
Was there an underground explosion at Fordow in January 2013?
Yeah. Okay.
If so, what happened?
Sometimes there are miracles. Sometimes there
I
are
didn't
not
hear
miracles.
you. I didn't hear you. Sometimes there are what?
Are miracles.
Oh, miracles.
Sometimes,
okay.
miracles.
So it was a miracle. What does Iran have at the underground facility at Kondab?
I'm not sure. Maybe in this area in the past, it was the weaponry group. You know, dealing with the Iranian nuclear threat, there are 3 main components. Number 1 is the enrichment and the conversion from the yellow cake to
230.
to UF6, and after that to fissile material.
Right.
Now they are fighting to have the legitimacy to enrich, even though only to 3.5%, but the legitimacy is crucial for them. I don't understand why they need 19,000 centrifuges and they have a place for 60,000 bunkers. The first component is the enrichment. Now I am talking about the uranium lane and not about the plutonium. The plutonium is for example, Arak or other things, the site in Arak. So number 1 is the enrichment plan. They need fissile materials. Number 2 is the weaponry group that no one talks about this, and I believe it's a huge mistake being done, but 5 plus 1. They didn't, they even didn't ask questions about the weaponry group. And I believe this is crucial. I can give you an example. It was at the end of 2003, the beginning of 2004, I presented this to Prime Minister Berlusconi because I was to explain Prime Minister Berlusconi during a visit to Prime Minister Sharon that there is a nuclear military plan. So I brought him pictures from our satellites. And the picture is a place that it's called La Vizan. You can find it after that. And suddenly the inspectors in Vienna asked questions about Lavizan in Iran, and they wanted to visit this place. And this happened in September 2003, I believe. And the Iranian told them no problem, and finally they visited there in February 2004. And Lavizan disappeared. What was in Lavizan? It was a very nice garden with a soccer football play, and that's it.
That was it.
So they digged 3 meters deep to clean everything that happened.
Wow.
But this is crucial. And I believe this is one of the components that no one talks about. And number 3, of course, is the surface-to-surface missiles, the ballistic missiles. Because without the missiles, we are not threatened. For example, if you want to solve this challenge, to say, okay, you want to build a bomb, and it's important for the Iranian and United States of America and Russia, they want them. We and Saudi Arabia are against this. So you can define that the ballistic missile, the range of the ballistic missile will be no more than 600 or 800 kilometers. So develop what do you want to develop.
But they developed long range.
Because the target is not Israel, the target is Europe, and the target is United States of America.
United States of America.
Do you believe they have a warhead right now and they're just trying to bring
No.
You don't think they have a warhead?
No, I believe they have 4 to 6 months from taking decision. They have the ability, they have the knowledge, they have everything needed to build such a
warhead.
The warhead. Yeah.
What about marrying the warhead to the ballistic missile? That technology.
I believe they can do this in half a year.
So 1 year away.
Yes, and do you know it was the challenge with the computer that found a way how you can create a warhead of 750 kilo and not 1 ton, because basically 1 ton is the original warhead that you can create. In the Shihab 3 doesn't have a space for 1 ton, only for 750. And it was published about the computer, that in the computer you see how can they take the fissile material and build a smaller warhead that it's only 750 kilo.
What happened at Parshin last month? Parchin. Parshin.
Yeah.
What happened last month?
I don't want to. I have to tell you, I don't like to say I don't know, and because I am involved in. I am in a committee that works with the Minister of Defense about next technologies, together with 7 best professors in physics and math and other science, 2 businessmen and I myself, and we are special advisors for the next technologies for Israel. So basically there are things that we, and also in other places. So I prefer, it's completely different if I will tell you something or someone else will tell you something. So I prefer not to talk.
What about Iran's EMP, electromagnetic pulse capability? Do they have that capability?
Only this, without not only this. I believe we know that what they are developing is
cruise missiles.
Cruise missiles. Also, this the basic technology arrived to Iran from Ukraine.
From the Ukraine.
Yeah. When it was an agreement between USA and
cruise missile technology.
Cruise missile technology.
But for the EMP, the electromagnetic.
I know. I don't know if they have the knowledge. I know that they are spending time and engineers as they are doing in the space. Having the capacity to be in the space, they understood it's crucial and strategic for them. To tell you how advanced they are, I don't know.
Has North Korea done any testing for them?
I know about North Korea's support even by knowledge, by people, and by budget. In Syria, of course, and in Iran also. And it took us time to understand why North Korean experts are living in Syria, around 250, 300. Before upon other sources, Israel attacked the site close to Deir ez-Zor.
According to foreign sources.
Yeah, according to foreign sources. So that's it. I believe these are things that I prefer not to react and not to talk about.
What is your greatest concern for Israel over the next 2 years?
I believe that the real threat is that we don't have a peace process that will give a chance and the feeling for the Arabs, also the Israeli Arabs, that this challenge can be solved. And my feeling is that what happened in the last half a year in Israel is led without understanding enough how important and crucial is for the Israeli Arabs, for the Palestinian in Judea and Samaria and in Gaza Strip, and for to finally to solve the problem.
Can it be solved?
I believe that it can be solved. To say that we don't have partners, it's not an answer. And I believe that I can give you. We don't have to do. First of all, Abu Mazen. I agree with everything that is said about Abu Mazen in his way now to try to
excite.
Yeah. But finally, we are doing also things that I believe we don't have to do them today. For example, the decision that every rule that will be taken in that
will
be
effective
also
in Judea and Samaria.
And for example, the timing is bad.
What is that? I didn't catch that. Every
new rule that will be made in Israel will be effective in Judea and Samaria.
Okay. And of course, every day we have a parliament member, a Knesset, that is visiting the Temple Mount. What happens suddenly? Everyone wants to visit.
We talked about it. This is stupid.
I believe for them this is stupid. It's not to be clever. You don't have to do things on purpose. And I believe at least the Arab Israelis, the Israeli Arabs, want to live together with us. They understood it's for them even better. But the gap between them and the Palestinian cannot be a huge gap, and because of that, the solidarity is crucial for them. And I believe we make a few mistakes. I believe we can manage this conflict. And even today, it's even with Abu Mazen, the coalition, the situation is completely different. Today we have Egypt with us, not because Egypt are Zionists, because they understand for their security is important to see the Hamas and the Al-Qaeda as enemies. So what they are doing in Rafah is a tsunami. Do you know more than 1,200 tunnels?
Yeah.
They have only a few. They are going to solve this problem. Yeah. So never was for us such an opportunity really to control the bad things that are supposed to be imported to Gaza. Why we have a partner? Saudi Arabia is a partner. The Emirates is a partner. They understood this Sunni Western philosophy states in the Arab world, understood how important it is that in the day that Iran will have a nuclear military bomb, Israel will be with them. They cannot say this.
Yeah.
So I believe the situation is different. And I thought when I listened, I believe during a summary being done on camera by the Prime Minister, he mentioned, finally, you will be surprised, I have a political horizon.
Yes, he said that.
He said this. And I thought, wow, now is going to be something new. And nothing happened. So I believe we have to be a part of these that understood that the Middle East is different today. And we have to use these opportunities. We don't have territory challenges to solve with Jordan or with Egypt or with Saudi Arabia or with the Emirates. So it's easy to do something with them. Their interest is even higher than our interest.
Good point.
Thank you for listening and watching to Warriors for the West with our featured guest, General Zevi Farkash. And it's critically important, folks, to heed what the general says. Know the enemy, understand the enemy in order to defeat the enemy. Thank you, and stay tuned for our next episode of Warriors for the West.